Most people start in the wrong place. They want to learn how to get rich before understanding why they keep being poor. Getting rich is a game of leverage, choice, and time. Escaping poverty is a problem of energy, context, and survival. They are different games. If you don't understand this, you try to apply growth strategies within a system that is still pulling you downward. And systems with negative force do not respond to linear effort. Poverty is not just the absence of money. It is the absence of margin. It is the absence of space to think. When you have no margin, every decision carries a disproportionate weight. You cannot make mistakes. You cannot wait. You cannot ignore things. This completely changes how you interact with the world. You are not operating with freedom. You are operating with urgency. And urgency is the opposite of strategic intelligence. The best way to understand this is not moral, it is physical. Think about gravity, not as a poetic metaphor, but as a real, constant, indifferent force. When a rocket tries to leave Earth, it doesn't just need to go up, it needs to reach a specific speed called escape velocity. If it doesn't reach that exact speed, it doesn't matter how close it gets. It doesn't stay almost in orbit, it falls back. And it usually falls back with more damage than before. Life works the same way. You can work hard, save a little, make incremental progress, but if you don't cross a certain threshold, the system pulls you back. A problem happens, a cost appears, a failure emerges, and you lose everything you accumulated. That's not bad luck, that's structure. The mistake most people make is believing that continuous effort produces continuous progress. That is only true in linear systems. Financial life, especially at the base of the pyramid, is not linear. It is binary at many moments. Either you get out or you fall back. This is the first insight. Linear effort produces zero results in systems with an escape barrier. You need enough intensity to cross the threshold, not just consistency within it. Working a little more, saving a little more, being a little more disciplined, this rarely solves the structural problem. You need a break. You need to change trajectory, not just accelerate in the same direction. Now, the point most people ignore, poverty doesn't stay outside. It enters your mind. And once it does, it starts to dictate what you see, what you prioritize, and what you believe is possible. This is not philosophical, it is biological. There is a study conducted by Sendil Mullainathan showing that scarcity significantly reduces cognitive capacity. When your mind is occupied with constant financial worries, your ability to solve complex problems drops dramatically, equivalent to being sleep-deprived or mildly intoxicated. This changes everything, because building wealth requires long-term thinking, risk evaluation, delayed gratification, and understanding systems. All of that requires available cognitive capacity. But when you're worried about rent, food, and the next bill, your brain switches into survival mode. And in that mode, it optimizes for the short term. It's not trying to sabotage you, it's trying to keep you alive. The problem is that surviving and prospering require opposite behaviors. Survival is reactive. Prosperity is strategic. When you live too long in survival mode, you lose the ability to think strategically. You don't plan 10 years, you solve 10 minutes. And this creates the most dangerous loop. Low income creates stress, stress creates bad decisions prevent asset creation, and without assets, you remain at low income. It's not an individual failure, it's a self-reinforcing system. That's why the first step is not investing, it's not entrepreneurship, it's not thinking big. The first step is reclaiming your ability to think, and you do that by creating margin. Margin is not wealth, it's space. It might be 1,000 reals, 500, or less. The number matters less than the effect. Without margin, everything becomes an emergency. With margin, problems become just events. When you have no reserve, any unexpected issue becomes an existential crisis. When you have a small reserve, the same problem becomes a logistical inconvenience. External reality hasn't changed. What changed was your internal state. And it is the internal state that determines the quality of decisions. This small financial buffer buys something extremely valuable, mental bandwidth. It reduces noise. It restores clarity, and clarity improves decisions, and better decisions begin to break the loop. Most people try to skip this stage. They want to invest without a base, grow without stability, build without a foundation. That's equivalent to trying to launch a rocket without enough fuel. No matter how good the design is, it won't leave the ground. First, you stop falling. Then you think about going up. Now comes a counterintuitive concept. It's expensive to be poor. This isn't just an emotional perception, it's pure math. When you don't have capital, you pay more for almost everything. You can't buy in bulk, so you pay more per unit. You can't pay up front, so you pay interest. You can't invest in quality, so you end up paying multiple times for something inferior. There's a well-known idea called the boots theory that illustrates this simply. A person with money buys a quality item once and uses it for years. A person without money buys cheap versions repeatedly. In the end, they spend more and receive less value. This pattern repeats in food, transportation, healthcare, and even time. The system isn't trying to be unfair. It's pricing risk and liquidity, and high risk is expensive. This creates another silent loop. Lack of capital leads to expensive decisions. Expensive decisions further reduce available capital. You're not just standing still, you're being drained. And the longer this lasts, the harder it becomes to escape. So the brain tries to compensate. When your life is constrained, stressful, and shows no visible progress, you start seeking small rewards, small signals of victory. You walk into a store, buy something new, and for a few minutes you feel relief, you feel progress, you feel like you're moving forward. This isn't irrational consumption, it's emotional regulation. Your brain is trying to balance pain with pleasure. The problem is temporal misalignment. The pleasure is immediate, the cost is prolonged. Dopamine comes now, debt comes later. And this creates a dangerous cycle. Pain generates consumption, consumption generates relief, relief generates debt, debt generates more pain. You're not buying objects, you're buying breaks from reality, and expensive ones. The fundamental difference between those who build wealth and those who don't isn't intelligence, it's their relationship with time. Those who are trapped optimize for the present, those who build optimize for the future. One asks, what does this give me now? The other asks, what will this cost me later? Money can buy pleasure, or it can buy freedom. Most people choose pleasure first and pay with freedom later. If you reverse that, the game changes completely. But reversing it requires reprogramming. Your brain has been trained to value immediate reward. You need to teach it to value delay. This is not natural, it's learned, and it usually requires a period of extreme reduction in stimuli. Less consumption, less distraction, less spending. Not as a permanent lifestyle, but as a recalibration. When you cut excess, something interesting happens. You begin to feel pleasure in control. Watching your balance grow becomes rewarding. Not spending becomes a win. This is a slower, more stable dopamine, one that aligns with the long term. When you don't need to consume to feel good, you become very hard to manipulate, and that is power, because a large part of the economic system depends on your impulsiveness. When you remove that, you gain autonomy. Now there's another structural trap, linear income. Most people trade time for money. That seems fair, but it's limited by definition. Your time is finite. Even if you work more, there's a physical ceiling. You can't scale indefinitely. Meanwhile, your costs don't have that limit. They rise with inflation, lifestyle, and unexpected events. Inflation is an invisible tax on those who depend on linear income. Prices rise quickly, but your income is slow to catch up. There's a structural lag. You get a raise after you've already lost purchasing power. This creates the illusion of progress. You think you're better off, but in reality, you're just trying to recover what has already been eroded. You end up running on a treadmill that accelerates faster than you do. You work more, earn more, but feel less progress. This isn't a lack of effort, it's choosing the wrong game. You don't win this by working more hours. You win by changing how you generate value. Time is linear. Value can be exponential. If you rely exclusively on your time, you'll always be limited. If you create something that scales, you begin to free yourself. Scale can come from technology, media, knowledge, or systems. Leverage isn't just money, it's anything that multiplies your effort without multiplying your time. And this starts with skills.
not isolated skills, but combinations. Being the best in the world at something is extremely difficult. Being unique is more accessible. When you combine 2 or 3 useful skills, you create something rare, and the market rewards rarity, not effort. The world doesn't pay for how hard you work, it pays for how hard you are to replace. If someone can learn what you do in a few days, your value is low. If your combination of skills is uncommon, your value rises quickly. So the focus shifts, no longer working more, but becoming rarer. This requires deliberate learning, not passive consumption of information, but acquisition of practical tools. Each skill you acquire is a piece. When you combine the right pieces, you create leverage, and leverage breaks the ceiling that time imposes. There is an invisible force that keeps most people exactly where they are, and it's not a lack of intelligence